Welcome back, data enthusiasts. This week we have got Kay Kim. She is team lead of tech and data engineering at Ada Health. Very interesting conversation as we have an evolution of data quality, and that is in the shape of the data reliability engineer or data quality engineer, or maybe some title very similar to this. We explored the position and its potential. We explored the tools that are involved, the teams that this person will sit in, the processes that will change as a result of this role, and also the impact that this role is going to have on your business and your team. Then we talked a little bit about advice for data enthusiasts or data folks who want to evolve their career, whether it's a sidestep or moving upwards into this position. So really exciting new role area and a interesting evolution as to data quality as well. Enjoy the podcast. Kate, QA is entering into data. Tell me more about this emergence.
Yeah, of course. So I think, first of all, there's some discussions over even the word QA, quality assurance, versus quality engineering. And I think what we're talking about right now covers sort of both areas of expertise and discipline. So the emergence of data quality engineering or assurance comes from the fact that I think we're seeing the maturity in the data systems and the ecosystems that exist within the organizations. So, for example, the increasing complexities within the data ecosystem. We have hundreds of different microservices interacting and communicating with each other, sending data to each other. So it increases the risk in the system fracture, and that can eventually lead to a negative impact on data quality. Another aspect is, of course, as the data sphere is maturing, we're seeing an increasing requirement from the regulatory compliance perspective. So stricter requirements on how our data should be processed, to be kept in what kind of standards across multiple different jurisdictions. So this also requires more organizations to have an overall structure on maintaining a high data quality. And last but not least, but of course we have big data and AI. AI is with us now in terms of applications that we can see in many organizations. And at the end of the day, the predictability and application of AI can only happen when we have high quality data that's being used as a model and input for higher quality predictions and reliable predictions. So yeah, those three, I think, would be the factors.
And of those three factors, what do you think is the biggest pull, the biggest cause for this emergence? Because these are whole new, as far as an organization, but also a recruiter is concerned, these are whole new role remits to be considered and whole new team members to be considered. So where has been the biggest pull and demand? Is it reg? Is it the emergence of AI and to some extent big data? Or
yeah, I mean, I must say, I think it's almost always the external factors that pushes the industries to transform. So in my opinion, it would be the regulatory compliance aspect. Ever since GDPR, and also in North America, we're seeing HIPAA in terms of health industry. So we're seeing the very industry and region specific laws coming up in terms of governance over data. And this is, I believe, was the genesis of the push towards having a data quality framework within the organizations.
Interesting. Okay. And as I mentioned new teams being impacted and new positions coming about as a result of this. What impact do you see on data teams from these new roles emerging, whether it be raised standards or whole cultural shifts or something different entirely?
Yeah, so I think we're already seeing these transformation happening. So before data engineering as a role emerged when big data sort of came within the organization in the digital space. And that was a lot of it was applying the concepts, frameworks, and disciplines from software development onto data development. So we have data development lifecycle and so on. Uh, for a while, the disciplines that we had on the development side was transferred into data engineering. And I think we're seeing that in terms of software quality engineering, quality assurance being transformed and to retrofitted into meet the data needs. So I guess the discipline or the domain of data quality engineering, it I think takes on a lot of the techniques or concepts from software quality engineering, but fitting it so that the end goal is for the organizations to have reliable, high quality, and accurate data in our data ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of those similarities then. I want to reach for the kind of mantle of old school QA.
Mhm.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, but what are the similarities with the conventional software engineering QA and now data assurance,
Yes.
or DQA?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of, especially on testing techniques. So let's say behavior-based or scenario-based testing, validation tests, unit testing, integration testing. So these are all techniques that sort of come from software quality engineering and has been applied onto data services, data platform engineering as well. In addition to that, we have automation techniques. So a lot of quality engineering also is based on automating these, I guess, tests into an automated test so that they can be always be integrated with the software development. So on the data side, this has also been applied. But I think going down to it, the core aspect is that these are dedicated roles for ensuring high quality of the output of the softwares that you're developing. And for a while, within the data engineering or even business intelligence or analytics circles, these were sort of an additional role or tasks that existing positions were performing. So let's say data engineers will be performing quality tests, or data business intelligence or analytics engineers will be performing these quality tests. But now the fact that the roles are emerging shows that there's a more hyper focus on the data quality.
Interesting. So they're whole new areas unto themselves now. Okay, whole new domains. A bit like how we had analysts, data analysts and data engineers, and now to fuse the two, we have whole new positions of analytics engineers. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay. And how do you see these new roles emerging? Sorry, how do you see them evolving? Do you see them changing the landscape, or rather keeping up with the landscape?
I think it will perhaps help provide for more structured development procedures and environments when it comes to data engineering. as I mentioned before, because it was sort of absorbed within the role of a data engineer, there wasn't a dedicated space. But now that this, I guess, the separation between the roles are happening, I think this signals that even the maturity and the structure behind the development approaches, development frameworks on data engineers are also evolving. So yeah, that's one aspect. When it comes to the, I guess, maybe more detailed tasks for data quality engineers, um, I think I can foresee the role evolving more into focusing on data management uh, concepts or frameworks as well. I think so far it could be more focused on the automation part, so automation of tests or scenarios and integrating them into development cycle. But at the end of the day, the data that is generated has to be of high quality and also be compatible, and also reinforcing the data models and the database structures that has been set, which I believe requires for data quality engineers to be familiar or to be very well knowledgeable in data management concepts. Yeah,
If someone is to evolve their career into this position, you mentioned coming from at least understanding the data management concepts. What position or positions will they be in right now to be able to take on a data quality assurance type position?
I think generally, I think there are two streams that people are probably or can come from. One is more focused on the development side, so those who are building data platform services, the engineers. And I think they could be coming in from providing automations and testing scenarios, approaching things from process engineering point of view. But then I think for these folks, enriching that those skill sets with more data specific concepts and knowledge, with data management concepts, with even data warehousing concepts for analytics purposes, so that the technical skills can go hand in hand with data specific knowledge. On the other hand, the second stream would be people who are more coming from business intelligence or data analysis stream of the current roles. So these folks are more familiar with data management concepts, data warehousing concepts, and also more familiar with how the data models themselves are set up, and more familiar with data domain in general. However, I think for them, if they're interested in data quality engineers, I think maybe focusing more on the software technical skills, such as automation, programming in order to create automation tasks, and also just be more familiar and knowledgeable in process engineering.
Interesting. The role seems to encompass many different areas, or these data quality assurance roles seem to encompass many different areas across BI, data analytics, data management, warehousing, and data modeling even. Do you see this new role area as being, firstly, a skill in great demand, and also a skill that's quite challenging to live up to?
That's an interesting question.
Maybe I'm selfishly thinking about my recruitment activities in the future. Is it going to be difficult to find these people, or can they come from these other more conventional data environments?
Yes, I think this is finding a good quality engineer or quality assurance uh, profession professional in general. I believe that's a challenge across, not even just within data, but also on the software development side as well. Because the area, even within the software development field, is considered to be newer than, let's say, back end, front end engineering, and so on. So the discipline itself, I think we are having some harder time trying to find people who have enough knowledge and in-depth knowledge to be able to push that forward. So let alone in the data quality areas.
Mm,
I think it's quite in its infancy.
interesting.
Yeah, but I when it comes to be able to see if they can achieve sort of the high standards of the role. Um, I think this is where the organizations or the teams, the data teams that this position or the role will be created for, should in a way be a bit more open to be flexible with the role, because it's an emerging position. So
Mm,
as people are joining the role, uh, in terms of the quality engineering tasks, techniques, and so on, that also depends on the maturity of the data ecosystem within the organization, the size of the team, and the composition of the team, and so on. So I think as long as the data teams or uh, are ready to be more flexible with the role, so that maybe they can focus more on the automation or test process engineering versus data domain knowledge, or vice versa. I think then the standards of the role can be achieved. Yeah.
interesting. Okay. What okay, so it's achievable. Data people will have a good shot at being able to perform this role. And I wonder if there are any kind of benchmarks, be it case studies at this point, of other industries that have already adopted these new positions. Are there any to speak of that you could reference for me to say, look in that direction? That's where you'll find these roles under heavy regulation and heavy quality standards.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I'm currently in the health industry, so this is where my knowledge is the most extensive. But of course, in the health industry, due to the fact that the data itself requires a lot of domain knowledge on medical, pharmaceutical, and other product or scientific related knowledge. In addition to that, it's a highly regulated industry. So the data needs to be not only in a certain format, but also of a certain quality uh, for safety concerns and medical protection purposes. So this is where sort of data governance, having a data governance manager or data governance team is quite common. And with I see that when it comes to organizations that have these teams, dedicated functions, they tend to have data quality engineering in terms of automating these frameworks that the data governance functions create.
Mm. Would finance be another example of an area with similar establishments?
Yeah, so I can see that as well. I'm not too familiar with the financial services industry, but because they're also highly regulated, I would not be surprised if they have these functions quite already integrated in there. Another example I was actually going to mention were um, sort of manufacturing, and especially manufacturing at an sort of conglomerate or international scale, with
Mm,
many business units or yeah, multiple uh, functions going on. I think this is where the the area of data governance is also quite strong, and introduction of data quality engineering roles there would be the sort of next tangible phase. Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. If this position is brought in to uphold and even raise quality and reliability standards, I wonder if measuring success is about maintaining those standards or different. How will you measure success in this role?
I think this is an age-old question, not just for data quality engineering, but just for data engineering as well, or even data in general. So in a way, right now, sort of the benchmarks for data engineering in terms of measuring success for the team is a combination of sort of software or platform-driven metrics and data-oriented metrics. So, for example, a good quality engineer sort of measuring success would be those traditional software or development metrics like lead time. So how long did it take you to, let's say, roll out a new automation and so on. And when it comes to if we have data quality checks, automated checks in place, or observability dashboards in there, then what is the error rate on our metadata, for example?
I see.
Yeah, so these are the two, I would say, aspects of measuring success for a data quality engineer. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. If data environments are to evolve and these new positions are to emerge, how do you see the next 2 to 5 years looking? I know it's hard to predict with the advent of AI. So many AI-based positions have emerged and evolved already. But how would you see this particular role set or skill set and role area emerging?
I think, yeah, emerging in a sense that I think it will definitely become more common. So it won't be uncommon for you to see a data quality engineer sitting in a data engineering role, or even the data team in general, so that you have a dedicated function for ensuring data consistency and data high quality. And when it comes to the tools or the technologies that are available for upkeeping data quality, so there are, I think when I go on LinkedIn, there's so many interesting companies popping up, every month when it comes to this topic. So really strong focus on data observability. So there are some tools out there that I think recently I saw this one company called Metaplane. They have very interesting tools in terms of being able to scrape all the metadata and be able to provide for sort of ongoing monitoring and alerts over your data. So you're reporting on your data in terms of health, in terms of quality. And I think that sort of practice is quite common for software. Sort of you are always tracking the uptime uh, and the health of your software. So monitoring the similar aspects over your data will become quite common using these new tools or technologies that are coming about. Yeah.
Are there any other products or companies that you might mention, like Metaplane, for data observability or other related
Yeah, of
data
course.
quality assurance areas?
Yeah, I think there's so many, as you probably know as well, but there's different ways. Of course, it's an age-old question of do we build it in-house or do we, get something externally? Um, all these things, of course, at the end of the day, if you really wanted to, you can build it in-house. And these are quick solutions that you can, or quick wins that you can have for the company to be able to start tracking data quality right away. So even using existing data stack like Airflow or Python, just simple automation tasks will be able to get you started on setting up data quality functions or services. Some of the more common frameworks out there to enable data quality checks and alerts. There's Great Expectations, which is an open source framework that enables these kinds of tasks. And when it comes to other more dedicated tools, there are various data catalog tools when it comes to managing the data types, data definitions, and so on. I believe Informatica is also one of the more known data quality monitoring and data quality operational tools. Yeah.
So people coming into this role, coming from a data environment, will already be familiar with various monitoring and data observability and orchestration type tools. So it will help them transition into this role more easily. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think so far in terms of seeing how this field has evolved, I believe so. And it's because of the fact that a lot of the people who are joining this field isn't coming completely from outside of data, because I think most people are coming from either data engineering or analytics or BI side. This is where a lot of the commonalities, will be there. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Kate, in parting, our final words or final question, what advice would you give to the data community if people are interested in evolving their own career into this type of position? And also, with that, what advice would you give to software engineering people if they wanted to move into the data QA domain?
Yeah. Overall, I think this is a great area. If you are interested in joining this field, at the end of the day, I think the effects will be very tangible. A lot of times when you are in the data world, the effects or the values that we provide can be a little bit murky or very indirect. However, when we're talking about data quality engineering, we're talking about being able to show concretely how healthy our data is and what kind of impact in terms of accuracy that are the decisions that are being made based on this data is. So I think when it comes to, if you're looking for a role that has more direct impact, I think this is one of the roles that maybe for you. And if you're very interested in, which is, I think, one of the great characteristics of, I think, data folks in general, which is very detailed or oriented, very forensically driven in terms of identifying sort of the root cause of some kind of error or some kind of data behavior patterns that you're seeing. I think this is a great role because you're always constantly trying to understand the data, the structure, or how to identify the underlying reasons for certain unexpected behaviors. And at the end of the day, you're trying to set up a sort of a view over minimizing these results. Yeah. And when it comes to software engineers who would like to come into this area, I think at the end of the day, learning more about the domain and the data that is generated, which I think a lot of times the software engineers, depending on the role that they're in, of course, and the team that they're in, of course, the data could feel so far away from, even though software engineers are usually creating services that are sources of data. So this will certainly provide for a perspective switch to be the consumers of the output that the software services generate, and really learn how the different services are interacting with each other in an overall sort of service landscape. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And are Ada Health your employer, your team? Are you on the lookout for this position at the moment?
Right now, we are not. However, a lot of our initiatives are focused on improving this area. So we have some elements put in place. However, I think there's a lot of value that we can, us as data organizations, not just within Ada, but in other organizations too, I'm sure this would resonate, is if there's data quality issues, then the data can potentially get abandoned by the consumers, and this can lead to less maintained, let's say groomed data services, and then this can really become sort of dangerous cycle within the data journey. So having a very strong data quality checks services in place is something that we've identified, and we're trying to improve that right now, mostly through the expertise that we have from the data engineers. But who knows? Maybe I think down the road we can reevaluate our needs. Yeah.
Fantastic. Kay, thanks very much for your time today. I really appreciate the overview. I've taken lots of notes, and I'm sure data enthusiasts will take lots as well. So appreciate your time,
Thank
appreciate
you.
your insights.